guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and today on the podcast we have Sadie Stanley and Lexi Underwood from the second season of Cruel Summer, which is currently airing now on Freeform and streaming on Hulu. The second season is a completely different story, cast, location, time period than that first season was, which was great. And I think it was really smart of them to do that because as the creator said, like the first season kind of felt really wrapped up. There was no point in trying to extend it just for the sake of extending it. So give us a totally new show. It has a similar vibe, but it's very different, and I'm loving it. You know, and Sadie and Lexi are the friendship at the heart of this season, playing Megan and Isabella, and it was really fun to get some time with them to talk about their characters, what they thought of season one, and how they thought about kind of bringing some of that magic into season two while also making it a lot different. What it's like to be on a teen show where there's this kind of intense fandom around it. What some of the fans are saying, how they've reacted to the finale that we have yet to see. We had a great conversation, and they are two really promising up-and-coming young stars. Lexi you probably recognize from Little Fires Everywhere, and Sadie you probably recognize from The Goldbergs. So they have both really promising careers, they're really talented, and they're both fantastic on this show. So catch up on the second season of Cruel Summer on Hulu now, and please keep listening to my interview with Lexi Underwood and Sadie Stanley from Cruel Summer. Thanks, guys. So we're here with Sadie Stanley and Lexi Underwood from Cruel Summer Season 2. You guys, I was a huge fan of this first season, and then when I heard that Season 2 was coming back with a totally new cast, totally new story, I was so excited, but I was also very intrigued for how they were going to do that and how they're going to replicate some of that same kind of energy that we loved from that first season. So how did you guys kind of first react to, okay, we're coming back for Season 2, or we're coming on for Season 2, what does that look like? How do we kind of take some of that season one magic, but also make it different?
Yeah, it was definitely, just like a lot of other people, I was a fan of season one as well. And I was super ecstatic when I heard that they were doing a season two. And just like you, I was equally intrigued. When I read the script and I got to talk to the people, everybody that, you know, is behind the show, I knew that we were in good hands. I feel like we've gotten the question a lot of, you know, was there any pressure, or did we feel nervous, like stepping into something that was already established? But I think the beautiful thing about this project is the mere fact that a different set of artists is able to, you know, tell a story in the same format, same tone, but bring something new to it and bring some new magic that we did not see the last season. You know, just like if, you know, the next season, if there's a next season,
yeah,
going to be a whole new wave of actors that are going to bring some magic to it that we didn't in the other season. And I think being able to see other artists like have that opportunity is really, really cool. And I think that there's also some beauty in just letting things be as well. With the first season, kind of coming up with your own interpretation of where you think that the characters go, and, you know, where you think life, you know, would have taken them next. And same for this season. But yeah, we all like loved the season one so much, and it was definitely an honor to be able to come in and step in after the season one cast. And I hope that we did it justice. It was fun.
You very much did. Sadie, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of season one as well. I didn't watch it until I had already booked season two, but I loved it. I sat down and I watched it in 3 days. It's just an extremely bingeable show, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm getting myself into. I'm here for this. I'm down. Yeah, I think it was awesome that we kind of had like so much inspiration from season one to pull from, and we were in the same hands that the original cast was, so we knew it was going to be good, and we knew they were going to come back. You know, they felt the pressure too. They were like, they didn't want to continue with the original storyline because it felt finished to them, and so they knew they had to step up and like pull out something good for season two.
Right.
So I was just grateful to be on that ride.
And I think that one of the things that kind of helps with kind of separating them in a really great way, obviously in addition to the story and the cast, is like we're now kind of around Y2K, and there's all this amazing music, and there's a lot of like kind of cultural touchstones from that time period. Was that also fun to kind of be able to step into that time? Because the music is just so good in and of itself. Like, what was it like kind of being like, oh, this is what it's like being a teenager kind of around the turn of the millennium?
Yeah, exactly. It was really, I was so excited when I realized they were going to set it around Y2K. I thought that was such a strong choice because everything from that time period is like coming back right now. I feel like I was already like in that space. And so to get to dive into that even more was so much fun. The wardrobe alone was like so fun to do, like hanging out in those fitting rooms was great. And then the music was such a huge inspiration to all of us. I know Lexi and I both made like 3 different playlists for our characters with
Amazing.
Of like what these teenage girls would be listening to at the time. Like I wasn't listening to any songs past 2000 2000. So
amazing.
Yeah, it was just fun to like step into that, and we were playing lots of like throwback tunes in between takes and in between setups and in the green room, and it was a huge inspiration to us and just like really fun.
Yeah, totally. And on a recent episode, you guys had the group choreo to Genie in a Bottle, which was amazing. That was the moment that I was like, damn, like I kind of wish that I was, how whatever age they are at that time period, because it's like they were just kind of, there's like an innocence almost to that period. I know there's kind of like some obviously dark themes that happen on the show, but like there's also this innocence, and I think it kind of speaks to where these characters are in their life. They're kind of caught between times a little bit.
Completely agree. No, the group choreography, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so like early 2000s, like, like where you all like practice in the living room and it's like, we're gonna put on a show for our parents. Like, that's what it gave. I was like, I remember doing this with my friends.
I did that with my friends too.
Yeah. So did I.
Anytime like such a teenage kid thing to do is like put a little dance together. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I saw somebody describe Cruel Summer just generally as television's equivalent to a bingeable beach read, which I think is such a compliment, because I think that it's so digestible, but it is also full of twists and turns, and there's something simultaneously comforting about it, but also kind of something that keeps you on your toes, right? And I think that it plays both of those things. Would you agree with that sentiment, that it's almost like a page turner if it was going to be in book form, like it was? How do you kind of think about the show holistically and kind of what it gives audiences?
Yeah, I mean, the show did so well the first season because it's just something that's so new and so different from what we have seen on television before. Michelle, Bill, Purple, and Jess, they did something really special with kind of what we've already seen of like, the murder mysteries, the drama, the teen, like coming of age type of thing, but just upping the stakes. I think that tonally, and the structure of being able to see a story over the span of a year, or in the first season it was over the span, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and so just being able to see like how a story starts and then how it ends and everything in between is just so fun as an audience member, and then also as an artist to be a part of, to go on that journey. And I think that every season it's something new and it's something different, and they constantly up the stakes, and just when you feel like you have something figured out, it's always something else. And so I love watching shows that keep you on your toes, but it's even cooler being able to be a part of a show that keeps you on your toes as well, and being able to see people go on that journey with you.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I think that one of the things what I really appreciate about Cruel Summer is something that I prefer these days, which is that it's dropping episodes week to week. And I know that's kind of like a very technical thing, but I think if you really think about it, I think it helps build the anticipation. It helps build, okay, what is that finale gonna be like, and then what's the big reveal gonna be? As actors who are in this show and you put so much time into it, do episodes dropping week to week like this, does that help kind of, I don't know, is it affirming at all? Does it help kind of the experience of being on your end of like, okay, people are really kind of, it's building, people are digesting it over time, and maybe they're finding it when episode 5 just aired. Like, speak to me about what it's like from your perspective with these episodes dropping week to week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really fun because it kind of prolongs the experience for us. Mm-hmm. We get to like, I mean, we spent so much time on this. So for the show to just drop and then like, we just throw it out into the world and to see what happens, I don't know, I mean, that's the only experience I've had before is with movies and TV that I've done. So I think this is kind of a new thing for me. I mean, other than the Goldbergs obviously coming out week to week,
right.
this is really fun, and it allows the audience to build up anticipation. It allows them to come up with theories. It allows the conversation to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's worked a lot with shows recently, with White Lotus or with Succession or with The Last of Us or whatever these shows are that come out week to week. I've been enjoying it, and I didn't know if I was that kind of person because I'm such a binger.
Right.
But it's really fun to have something to look forward to week and to talk to your friends and be like, have you seen the new episode? It's crazy. It comes out this Friday. Like, come over and we'll watch it. So I like that aspect of it. I like the idea of people getting together and watching it together. But I am excited also for when all the episodes are out, because I think a lot of people will find that too. I think that the show is built in a very bingeable way. I watched the first season in 3 days myself on the couch. So it's like, I think it
works both ways.
It works both ways, which I think is great. So I think we'll know really how people feel later on when all the episodes are out.
Right, for sure. So obviously we're not there yet, and no spoilers, but can you speak cryptically to me about how each of you reacted to when you found out about what happens, that how the season wraps up? What was the first reaction from each of you?
I was so satisfied. I was real satisfied.
Sadie, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. It's a shock. You think you know all of these characters, you think you know everything, and you think you can't be surprised anymore, but you are. And that was the fun part of us not knowing, that we didn't know until the very end, until we needed to know. And it was crazy. It was a wild ride. I think the fans will be surprised. I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm excited. And obviously a huge component of Cruel Summer season 2 is the relationship between your two characters. And, I'm curious what it's like, again, as actors, where you're probably getting really close off camera and you're spending a lot of time together on set, both you two, but also the cast in general. And but the friendship between your characters is kind of at very different stages in each of the 3 periods that we're in. They're getting to know each other, then they're super close, and then there's this sort of weird, we're not really sure exactly obviously what happens to get them to that point kind of a year later. So what's it like for you two, where you're getting close off camera, but then in front of the camera you can't really always be as warm and fun with one another? What's that like, kind of playing between those two?
It's fun. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm like, I don't feel like we had trouble, like, jumping in and out of it. Sadie and I we are close. Like, our bond is like Isabella and Megan. Like, we definitely are, like, the whole cast. I'm like, we're all like ride or die for each other. So
yeah, being
able to tap back into that space after, like doing like an argument scene wasn't hard. But she's a professional. I'm a professional. I mean, you've got a job to do. Is like, it doesn't really matter like how close y'all are.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
You come in, you do your thing, and then we immediately go back to being besties. But it's really cool. I love the fact, especially as we get a little bit more deeper into the season, we get to see that even when we think that friendship is like fully done, there still is like a little bit of hope, a little bit of chance that they both still, you can obviously see that they still have love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And going on that like
Definitely.
friendship is very fun and also very authentic, because that is
I was about to say very real. Exactly.
Yeah, and like that's friendship. No friendship is perfect,
No, especially for teenagers. I think it's so volatile,
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because if you click on the Cruel Summer hashtag on Twitter, it's like one of the prevailing sentiments is that Megan doesn't deserve as good of a friend as Isabella. Like that's sort of like one of the things that a lot of people seem to be saying, at least maybe after this last episode. That seems to be kind of some of the top tweets and comments are about that. What do you guys make of that? Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you disagree? Where do you stand on sort of the balance of their friendship?
I think I get it. I think I get that sentiment for sure. There were moments when I was reading the scripts where I was like, Megan is not appreciating what Isabella is doing for her, and it feels like she always has something she's mad about, and whatever. I think, without being like, I don't know, not too cryptic or anything, I think again, everything you're seeing is not exactly as it seems. And so just keeping that in mind always. I do think Isabella is a good friend to Megan, but there's layers to this stuff. Okay. It is complicated. So
It's definitely an unhealthy friendship on both ends. During filming and getting the scripts, I don't think that I picked up on it. But it's not until I'm watching and I'm like, ooh, like at the dinner table, like Megan telling like Isabella to stay out of it. But they're literally talking about the tape and like it's Isabella's like,
Right.
like literally taking the fall for the tape. I think that it's really interesting if you go further in depth. I've had, conversations and I've seen things on Twitter as well where people will really like tap into it. And I think that it's interesting that especially when you have a dynamic like that, and as well when you have like things like privilege and when you have like class and race like a
Mm-hmm.
part of the story, there are certain things that also just you kind of pick up on it. And
Yeah, for sure.
it was a great point on Twitter somebody made. It was kind of the same circumstance or scenario that like Pearl was in for Little Fires. Like Pearl had already been through like a friendship that necessarily like wasn't reciprocated on
Right.
that. And you see that again happening. And I think that it goes to show also, I think there's a lot of microaggressions as well, if we're going to be honest. And I think that insecurities and those things play out. And while you're not necessarily being conscious of it, it just comes up in the moment. So I think that there's a lot of different layers when it even comes to the way that Luke handles other people, the way that Isabella handles people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is messy, everybody's complicated, and there's so many things that like really play into the story. But I think that you got to give everybody in the story a chance because
Yeah.
nobody is a good friend to anybody, in my opinion, and everybody's messy.
Right, right, right. And I
Yeah.
also think it's adding to that adding to the layered and the complex nature of it, which is like this takes place 24 years ago, 23 years ago, and so no, we have the 2023 mindset of looking back at some of these things, and I think it's just really interesting conversation to have. So as it's also, I think as actors, it's probably very interesting to balance recognizing that your characters are flawed and make mistakes and maybe do bad things, while also trying to like find that heart and find a way to sympathize with them and kind of find what their driving force is. Can you speak to that as well? Because again, like I think it must be rewarding to play a flawed person because it's more complex, as a more complex performance. But again, it's you want to find that heart. So what's that like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always want to root for the character that we're playing. We everybody wants to like play the hero and be the good guy, and then you want your character to make the best decision for themselves. But like that's just not as fun sometimes. That's just not how humans are. We are not perfect people, and so we're not going to play perfect people. And talking about two teenage girls who are experiencing all of this for the first time, and they don't know what to do with it either. So it would just trying to make it as authentic as we can and make it feel like these girls are really like they're winging it, because that's what everybody does, And they also are both products of the way that they grew up. They're products of the people around them, and that makes them flawed inherently, So maybe Megan is picked up on things in her life and Isabella's picked up on things in her life, and that's why they have these clashes and the perspectives are different, and that's normal, but it makes for a really, really interesting relationship.
Lexi, what about for you?
Yeah, we don't really get to see much before Isabella's arrival to Chatham. Like we don't see what Megan's dynamic was in, her household before Isabella's.
Right.
We don't get to see Isabella and how she interacts, with her parents or how she interacted like really like with Lisa. And so I think that, we have to keep in mind that there are a lot of traumas and certain things that a lot of these characters are taking into certain scenarios. And just like any other human being, like everybody is flawed. Everybody is going through things. Everybody is actively trying to heal. And sometimes with it gets messy and we project things onto other people. And, we have moments of outbursts and not necessarily knowing how to properly navigate our emotions and feelings. And I think that it's always a joy when you get to play a real human being, outside of something where it feels like, okay, like this was written by somebody. It's like, wow, I can relate to this. And my friend can relate to this and my cousin can relate to this. Like, that's just what being a teenage girl and not knowing what you're doing is like. It gets messy, it gets complicated. There's so many things that, goes on your day-to-day basis. And I think that just being able to see two girls like messing up and, like going through all the things that we go through is cool. And it's important to see that imagery.
For sure. We have time for one more question. And, I'm been a long time fan of teen shows. Like whenever a show about teenagers comes along, like I'm probably going to tap into it. I'm probably going to be enjoying it. I'm 30 years old and I'm still loving it. But, you know, I think that something that comes along with a lot of these shows that center around teenagers and cater to that age demographic are kind of an intense fandom, and the conversation can get intense. And then I'm sure that you guys like have experienced like just a influx of people just, you know, becoming fans of you guys as actors, but also people who just love the show. What's it been like from that perspective of just seeing the popularity of the show and kind of tapping into a big fan base that probably follows along for a lot of these shows, and Cruel Summer fits right into that puzzle?
Yeah, no, it's just fun, like when you're making something that, you know, especially like your generation is going to be tapped into.
Yeah.
I don't know about Sadie, but beforehand, like for me, I feel like the people that, you know, watch like the projects that I was a part of, it's either like really little kids or, you know, people from an older generation. So it's just really fun, like being able to like talk to people that are my age and, you know, they can relate to it, or like they're coming or picking up on like the things that I was picking up on. It's just really cool. I'm such a big fan of like, you know, kind of like, you know, like having like those followings, like, you know, being a part of like where it's a community, you know, like the fans feel like a community. I've been, you know, like that for certain shows where I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to be tapped in every week and I'm going to, you know, tweet my theories. It's just fun. And it's something that, you know, for people to be able to come together like one day a week and just like tweet for an hour and talk for an hour. Like it's really fun. And it's a joy, especially when you get to see like the people that look like you and that are going through everything that you're going through, like being able to relate and connect with it as well.
Sadie?
I think I completely agree. I think it's really fun to be a part of something that I would watch myself. Like I always want to be like a fan of my own work. And this show is like, it's so cool because it is that YA space. It is very digestible. It's very easy to watch. It's very like, you know, young people will enjoy it, but I feel like we take that YA like teen drama
to it. Yeah.
And we add something special to it, and it has a little bit of edge to it and a little bit of like a crime thriller aspect, and it just feels heightened and more highbrow. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, I think we bring something special to the YA space. So I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm excited. And it's been a weird thing because this is kind of like my first big like press push in that space. And as an adult actor now too, I'm 21 now, and so like a lot has changed, and it's really exciting to put yourself out there, but it's also very scary. I don't know what to do with all of that attention. I don't know what to do. So I'm just winging it as well.
Just ride the wave, you know? Yeah, exactly. Well, Sadie and Lexi, this has been so much fun chatting with you. I'm really loving this season, and I'm excited to see, hopefully also be satisfied by the ending, and then like as you two were. But yeah, thanks for taking the time, and hopefully we'll chat soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, bye guys. Thanks for tuning in to We Should Talk. I hope you enjoyed the interview. You can find out more about In the Know at intheknow.com. You can follow me, Gibson John, at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram. And you can listen to all of our interviews, past and future, by searching We Should Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Hope to see you next time.